Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Watchlist on Notes from the Back Row Patreon episode. Thank you for joining me again. It's been a really long time since I've done this. You can see my cat here in the background. Guest spot, Maple. This is the show where I shuffle my watch list and then watch whatever comes up. It's been a really long time since I've done this, as I mentioned, so I'm a little rusty. We'll see how it goes. But if you like this stuff, let me know on Patreon. I'd like to get back into doing more of this kind of stuff. But let's just do it. Okay, so here we are. We're on my watch list. I have it set to view the watch list by shuffle, and I'm just going to refresh, and whatever is in this location, the first spot on my watch list is what I will be watching and telling you if I liked or not. So let's just do it. Okay. Bloodknot, 1995. We are looking at a thriller TV movie right up my alley. A grieving family opens its household to an unknown woman who claims to have been their dearly departed's girlfriend. This has been seen 46 times. Only once by somebody that I've seen, but some 3, 4, and 5-star reviews. Okay, so let's watch Bloodknot, 1995. So hopefully this is a good one, and we will be right back. Okay, I have watched Bloodknot, 1995, as directed by Jorge Montesi, a Chilean director notable for doing a lot of television work over the years, including episodes of the late 90s run of The Outer Limits, as well as some episodes of the Friday the 13th series, and notably for me as a Canadian, the first debut episode, the pilot episode of the Canadian kid classic, The Odyssey. They also directed some television movies like Bloodknot, but also some straight-to-video work. They did Turbulence 3, Heavy Metal, and some other films as well. So this was made for Showtime. And so if you're not super familiar with Showtime films, you can expect basically a Lifetime Network movie with that style of kind of dramatics, but with more swearing, more nudity, that kind of stuff, more of that kind of stuff that the Lifetime wouldn't have allowed. It's a bit of an erotic thriller, also more of just kind of the yuppies in peril style, hand that rocks the cradle kind of thriller, which is right up my alley, so I was super excited. So Bloodknot stars Kate Vernon as Kay, who arrives at the grieving Reeves family's house claiming to be the fiancé of their son who died in the Gulf War. She ingratiates herself into the family, making a pass at the middle child, played by Patrick Dempsey, which complicates his relationship with his girlfriend, and she provides much needed friendship and help around the house to the mother and father, Evelyn and Arthur, played by Margot Kidder and Alan Royal. There's also a young daughter who feels like Evelyn, who's now posing as a woman named Connie, is the big sister that she never had. And so that kind of sets up the sort of relationship dramatics that come through this film. It's a lot actually about Patrick Dempsey and his girlfriend and how she's kind of moving in, and his girlfriend, is really jealous about Kay or Connie, as you will. So there was a lot of that. But right off the bat, I knew I was in for a pretty decent watch because the movie opens with Kay in a bar picking up a woman who is like a military, a person in the military who's kind of thinking of getting out of the military. And so she's like approached by this dude who's coming on to both of them. And she says,
How's about you drag your little hayseed ass back over to your boyfriend's there before I lop off your little dick and use it as a fucking cocktail stirrer?
I mean, when that happens, you're in good hands. At least you're gonna have a little bit of a good time. There's no way the movie's just gonna be terrible from there on out. So she gets to the house and explains who she is, why she's there, and the family invites her in to stay for an indefinite period of time. And you might be wondering at this point, Hey, I think I've seen this movie before. It sounds incredibly familiar. And you might be saying that if you saw the film The Guest, which has a very similar plot as this, where it is also about a family who is visited by a guest who claims to have been in the military with their son, who has passed away, and sort of starts just to kind of wreak havoc on their lives. And this movie is very similar to that. It, for my tastes, takes a little bit too long to get to that stuff. I think it spends a lot of time on the relationships between her and Patrick Dempsey here, and Margot Kidder, and the husband and the daughter. It feels a little unfocused in when it's giving time to those relationships and when, it's going to start turning the screws on these people. And I kind of wanted it to get to that a little bit faster. When I watch a movie like this, generally, I want it to be a little bit trashier. And this movie is definitely a little trashy. There's like a lot of stuff between these two, couples, and a lot of like jealousy. There's a lot of sort of like tawdry drama between all these people, and it definitely gets there. It especially gets there by the end of the movie. But there's also all this stuff about like race car driving, and Patrick Dempsey is going to be like a race car, and he's trying to beat his friend Craig Sheffer, who is pretty sleazy and good in this movie, as well. But it just feels like there's maybe too many detours into these things, when what I really want to see is how is she going to torture these people, or, and how is she going to amp up these relationships more and more and more over the course of the movie. Like there's no boiling, you know, the rabbit scene, there's no kind of let's kick this into that sort of slightly exploitative area where it's going to really, really shine. Um, until it gets to the finale. And what this movie does have going for it, I will say, is a really great, pretty ridiculous out of nowhere twist in the end, which does kind of, reinvigorate your interest in the film. It does also have really good performances overall. I thought Margot Kidder was actually pretty great in this film. I thought Kate Vernon makes a really good sort of, murderous, potentially kind of intriguing character. Patrick Dempsey is fine. I think that people don't, I don't know, do people not really like Patrick Dempsey? I kind of find his like, maybe because I've watched a lot of his 80s movies, I kind of find his like weird right between the sort of like not a hunk character, but still kind of like a nerdy kind of dweeby guy. I kind of like that he could straddle that line of like, sort of, leading man type, but not so much a leading man that he's not somehow relatable as a kind of like awkward human being. I think he hits this kind of interesting sweet point there, especially in the 80s. But here in 1995, still kind of doing that, which I thought, was good for what this movie needed. Ultimately, I'm probably going to come down on like a 3 star, it's just pretty okay place for this movie. I was kind of hoping that it would be like a 4 star over the top, like, this is a great trashy gem. But I mean, if these are the kind of movies that you like, you can do a lot worse. You probably have done a lot worse. And it's worth checking out for an hour and a half of your time, on a weekend, maybe on a Saturday, like I did here today. But that's it for Bloodknot. Let me know if you watch this movie and check it out. Make sure, if you're watching this, you already know about the Back Row Patreon, but make sure to check out everything else at back-road.com. And otherwise, I am Dan Gorman. This has been The Watch List, and that is another movie checked off my watch list. So, see you next time, hopefully sooner than last time. Bye.